Hello everyone, and welcome back to Royal Ascot. We're talking about day 4. Big time racing as always, and excellent guests. On the far side, John Blance, stalwart of Sky Sports Racing, ace race caller as well, and front and centre, as usual, Racing Pulse Maddy Playle. 7 races again, all sorts of betting, wagering options. Let's get straight in to race 1. It's 2-year-old fillies, it's the straight 1200 metres, it's the Albury Stakes. Let's have a look at the runners and riders and a few key players. Top of the shop is Carla's Way, very impressive first time out. Jabara, likewise at Newmarket and from a stable with a very good record in this race. We've also got Dawn Charger. We're going to have a look at her in a second or two. Very professional so far. And further down the list, number 13, Porta Fortuna, has been pretty impressive, not once but twice so far. They are your runners and riders for the Albury Stakes. Let's have a look at a bit of a galloping clue here. One we're going to look at is Dawn Charger, filly trained in Yorkshire by Carl Burke, and we're going to go back 2 starts ago. This was 5 furlongs at Ascot here in May, and she does the job pretty professionally. She makes all, and she's had 1 more run since. She was odds on at Carlisle, stepped up to 6 furlongs and did the job in likeable fashion again. So that is Dawn Charger. She has a chance on Friday. But John Blance, I know you're a big fan of Roger Varian in this race. Roger's got a very good record in the Albany. He's won it twice, and Jabara made a striking impression at Newmarket.
Yeah, she certainly did. It was a race where not much went right for her, but she exhibited all you want from a juvenile filly. She got out the gates well, she travelled well, but not too well. There were 1 or 2 traffic problems which she had to negotiate, and when she got round them, she really finished off her race very well. I thought it was a really, really striking performance, and provided she gets a better run here, she'll go very, very close indeed.
And the fact that Roger Varian has won the race twice tells you that he knows what's needed. Maddy, you like Carla's Way, I believe?
I do, and there is some form intertwining with horses that finished behind John's filly at Newmarket. Carla's Way, she was quite keen on her debut at Doncaster, but that didn't stop her storming clear in the closing stages. She cost a lot as a 2-year-old, £350,000. And she's got the same connections as the Norfolk winner from a couple of years ago, A. Arley. I just think there's a lot of progression in her. I have been an anti-post supporter, and she's come in for a lot of money, which gives me that bit of confidence as well.
She needs to relax a bit more, a bit better than she did early on first time out, don't you think?
She does, but I've been sort of encouraged by the feedback from connections that they think she'll be absolutely fine, and she's by Star Spangled Banner again. I've been saying all week I think he's going to have a good week, and he's represented by a couple of smart ones here.
Yeah, you've been flying the flag for Star Spangled Banner all week. Horse I think you should keep an eye on, is Donica O'Brien's filly. She's called Porta Fortuna. She wasn't that impressive first time out, bunch finish. Second time out, I thought she was much better in a pretty good race. She went clear a furlong out. She had to work hard late on because Navassa Island came to call, but I thought that Porta Fortuna settled the race really neatly. So any other business, folks? Is there one more we should mention, perhaps?
I quite like Mapmaker at a big price. Beat a large field at Newbury not so long ago in a good time as well, and pretty much on the speed throughout, and the other speed horses were very tired in the closing stages. I thought she was too big at around about 33 to 1 here in this country.
Anything else, Maddy?
You mentioned briefly Navassa Island. I think we could see an improved performance from her.
John, no pressure. First out the box, first 4 in the Albany, please.
I feel like I've come to the party late. Jabara, horse number 6 for me. Mapmaker in second, number 8. 10, Navassa Island, and Porta Fortuna in there for 4th.
Some agreement there. I'm going Carla's Way number 1 on top. Jabara, the 6 in second. Navassa Island 10 and Soprano 18.
Not sure we've got exactly the right order here, but I think we might have the right fillies. 13, Porta Fortuna on top, followed by 6, 1 and 2 for the Albury Stakes. Here we go with the first Group 1 of Friday at Royal Ascot. This is the Commonwealth Cup, and this is a showcase for potentially world-class sprinters. Let's have a look at the runners and riders here, because Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore are bound to be hugely popular. It is the Little Big Bear, champion 2-year-old last season, and he looked very good at Haydock last time. But he has some serious rivals. Sakia has long been regarded as a potentially top-class sprinter. He gets his chance on a big day for Roger Varian. Shaquille is a Northern Raider who is going from strength to strength and should have been a ring, was second to Little Big Bear last time and ran really well in defeat. A wide open betting race in some ways. Let's have a look at video, John, and one of the key videos here involves the favourite, Little Big Bear. This was Royal Ascot 12 months ago, a fairly hard-earned win in the Windsor Castle Stakes. At that point, it was pretty hard to see Little Big Bear becoming a champion 2-year-old. That's exactly what he did become.
He certainly did. Yeah, it was a sort of par performance on this card. He'd been on the go since March of last season as well. He was a really early 2-year-old. He won the Phoenix Stakes later on in the season in a tremendous time, scampering away from some very good horses. Obviously things went a bit wrong in the 2000 Guineas, well publicised, a bit like the Derby winner too. But I thought it was a really good performance at Haydock the other weekend. I think he's going to be very, very tough to beat here.
What about that theory that the Golden Highway at Haydock being near the stand rail helped him?
Well, there was, but also you've got to look at the times of that race as well. He was on the speed throughout against Bradsell, who franked the form the other day, and also a horse called Matilda Picotte, who's very, very consistent. They were very, very tired in the closing stage, and he was going further clear. Should have been a ring, stayed on very well. First 2 miles clear of the rest. I thought it was a really good performance. He's certainly back in rude health, and I think he's going to take some stopping here.
We shouldn't be surprised, but Aidan O'Brien has gradually got his star horses to really peak for Midsummer, hasn't he?
Certainly has. And Auguste Rodin, we were there the other weekend. It was a tremendous display in the Derby after such a deflating situation in the Guineas, and I think something similar might eventuate here.
Long been a lot of buzz about this horse called Sakir. Roger Varian trains him. Dynamite at Newbury last autumn. What do you make of him?
I'm a really big fan, and quite an interesting quirk to this race. Last year's winner, Perfect Power, he finished 7th in the 2000 Guineas before coming on to win the Commonwealth Cup. Who finished 7th in this year's 2000 Guineas? It was Sakir. I was actually surprised by how well he ran at Newmarket, because I don't think this is a horse who's going to be comfortable over a mile. We saw how great he was in the Mill Reef last year. He's going to be dynamite back at this trip. I think he's really going to give Little Big Bear a race. I disagree slightly. I think there was definitely a bias at Haydock. We saw Dramatised. Okay, Bradsell boosted the form in the King's Stand, but Dramatised, who also had that highway in the Temple Stakes, she was bitterly disappointing in the King's Stand. I'm not quite sold on Little Big Bear, and I think Sakir can put it up to him.
I think we have a big 2 here, but maybe we have a big 3 or a big 4. We've got one more VT to show you. This is the filly, Lazoo, and not dissimilar profile to Sakir, and that she was among the very best of her sex as a 2-year-old. Go back to King George Day, high summer at Ascot last year, with Franca Dettori on board. She put up a really good performance. She went on from the Princess Margaret and won a Group 1 race. She beat Meditate in the Shively Park, high-class form, and a little bit like Sakir, she didn't shine over a mile in a classic, the 1,000 Guineas. The ground was very much on the soft side. Back to sprinting gives her her chance. Let's try and wrap this race up. We've dealt with the main players in the market. What else should we mention here? Shaquille, John, has made a really good impression on both of us.
Yeah, for Whirlpool fans, Shaquille's been great both at Newmarket, and then of course he ran really well at Newbury. Really good gate speed, will get into a nice position. The Newmarket race has worked out pretty well. A horse called Washington Heights has also got on to win a good race subsequently. So I think there's lots to like about him. He's in my numbers. He's not obviously on a top line, but he's in there.
One more that we should mention, Maddy?
Ocean Quest. I think he's won really nicely from difficult positions and run well as well. This is going to suit him with this setup, I think. I can see him staying on strongly at the death.
I can sense we have one major Little Big Bear fan, one major Sakir fan. Let's start on the far side with John.
Yeah, Little Big Bear on top, horse number 2. I think he's going to take all the beating here. Lazoo, I do like her. She's got the Ascot form. The race will be set up for her perfectly as well. Shaquille, we've talked about. And Swing Along, there's some good fillies in this race. And Swing Along was a really good 2-year-old on the speed. She's obviously had 1 or 2 problems this year. She doesn't stay a mile. Back to her trip now with that filly sex allowance. I think she'll go quite well at a price.
I'm keeping the faith in Sakir to deliver on the early promise he showed. He's on top, number 7, followed by Little Big Bear, number 2, Ocean Quest, number 12, and Marban, the sneaky one, number 3.
Very hard to knock Little Big Bear, other than the price. So I'm looking for a little bit of value. I'm with Maddy, with number 7, Sakir, number 2, Little Big Bear, number 8, Shaquille, and number 9 should have been a ring. He's had 13 races, but his Haydock second to Little Big Bear, well clear of the rest, suggests he's still getting better. 7, 2, 8, and 9. Good luck in the Commonwealth Cup. Come back to Ascot. First big handicap of Friday's card is the Duke of Edinburgh handicap. It's a 1.5 miles on the round course. It's always a very difficult puzzle. Let's have a look at the runners and riders. I think interesting ones are in the middle of the race card. Number 9 is Nagano. Has been off the course for a long time, but he was very good when last seen. Number 11, keep a very close eye on the Godolphin horse, Al Nafia, gelded since a really strong win at Newmarket last autumn. Number 12, Maxud, could be a lively long shot. And down towards the bottom, number 17, Imeric, is here on the back of a good win. That is the runners and riders. Not sure exactly where to start, John, so the floor is open. What do you like here?
Well, Messius Fox, we remember that horse from Newmarket earlier on in this season, has improved very much for the gelding operation. Has gone from fairly nondescript form towards the back end of last season to rocketing through the ratings. Oisin Murphy gave him a beautiful ride at Newmarket, managed to get that inside position, was on the speed throughout, or near the speed throughout. I think there's a bit more latitude in his handicap mark. I think he'll go very well indeed here. And he's a reasonable sort of a price as well. He's towards the top of the market, but it's such an open race, the prices reflect that.
Faster ground here, but he's probably just an improver, isn't he?
Well, and he's run the all-weather as well, so I think he's pretty versatile as regards ground. I think he'll be fine, and Oisin Murphy gets on well with him.
Any more we should mention?
You've already mentioned my selection, that's Nagano. He's put up some really big performances, big, powerful, muscular colt for Roger Varian, who I think could be in for a good day. We know he's not running a while, that's a legitimate concern, but on his handicap mark, he should be very competitive.
I also like Nagano, and I take the layoff as a positive in some ways, Maddy. Why would you run a horse after 660 odd days off the track at a big meeting like this if you didn't think he was ready to fire? His Goodwood form from a couple of summers ago is extremely strong, so keep a close eye on him. I also like the look of stablemate here, Imeric, who did the job quite nicely last time, and Maxud's a horse I like. Now, his record is a little bit checkered, but if you look back to Goodwood last summer when he ran second to Secret State in that big handicap, I could give him a chance. So my numbers in a minute. Any other business, John, and your numbers if you will.
Well, I think we have to mention Ajero as well, who ran a really good race in this last year, and he's not that much worse off at the weight. He's clearly been targeted, and he'll be a decent price, so he'll go well. My numbers, though, are 3 Messius Fox, 18 Ajero, America was a really good run at Doncaster last time, number 17, and Lucanda, horse number 4 in for 4th.
I'm smiling at John because he's stolen my thunder a little bit with the second horse there. Nagano, number 9 on top for me. Ajero, 18 next in, followed by Live Your Dream, 5. Ran a really good race on his comeback last time. And Lucanda, big outsider, to finish 4th, number 4.
Shame on me. I haven't really mentioned the horse I really like here. It is number 11, Al Nafir. Not many horses win a race by half a length and go up by 10 pounds. That's what happened to him for his Newmarket win. That tells you it was a good race. First 2 were well clear. Here after a break, having been gelded, €1.2 million, brother to Gaiath. I think he's got plenty of potential. 11, Al Nafir, 12, Maxud, 9, Nagano, and 17, Imeric in a brain-burning Duke of Edinburgh. Race number 4 at Royal Ascot on day 4, Friday, is one of the features of the week. It's the Group 1 mile contest for fillies, and there's been a late withdrawal here. Morge is not going to be a runner, so we don't have the battle of the Guineas winners, and that will probably mean that the Irish 1,000 Guineas heroine, Tahira, is bound to be strong favourite. Quick look at the runners and riders here. Tahira, down towards the bottom, is the key player in many respects. Her old rival is Meditate, is back for another crack, and we've also got 2 more old rivals, Queen for You and Sounds of Heaven, who are having a rematch. That is the runners and riders list. There's only one natural starting point here, Maddy Playle, and that is Dermot Wells' Quicksilver filly, Tahira. A little unlucky at Newmarket, perhaps in the 1,000 Guineas. She made no mistake at the Curragh.
Yeah, I think she's definitely unlucky not to have won 2 editions of the 1,000 Guineas. She's just got that star quality, hasn't she? And she travelled all over Morge at Newmarket before just getting found out close home. We know that her preparation for that race wasn't ideal, and she proved it at the Curragh last time. She's £6 clear on official ratings of her rivals here. I think she's going to make that count. But there are some improving fillies in behind her. I think Sounds of Heaven, who narrowly beat Queen for You at York last time, I think she can hold that form down, and she's a bigger price. So there's some interesting strands of form to this race.
John, is it a case of no Morge, no problem for Tahira?
Probably. It's sad because it was such a great race, the 1,000 Guineas at Newmarket. Maddy's right, Tahira's rather unlucky. She made the best of really good circumstances in Ireland, and she won that very well too. It's a shame they aren't going to clash again because it would have been a great race. Queen for You has already been mentioned in dispatches. She ran a really good race here against the trend of the race, and she did at York as well. She's got a tremendous turn of foot, this horse. So if it's a bit sort of tactical, I'll be confident she'll be in it as well. But I think Tahira will just probably be a bit too good for them.
Well, I'm going to pick up the Queen for You baton here. I like her chances. I think she's going to run a good race. Here are the reasons why. She's only had a couple of races. I think if we go back 11 years, her dam, Fallen for You, won this race for John Gosden, and this filly has created a good impression. We're going to see a first time out, small field conditions race on the straight course here at Ascot, And just watch in the Juddmonte colours how she travels through her races. She's a really powerful traveller. She went on from Ascot to York. She missed the break. It was a slowly run race, but she caught the eye travelling really powerfully. I'm against Maddy's view here. I think that Queen For You is highly likely to reverse the form with Sounds of Heaven. Not much between the two, but keep an eye on that filly. I'm going to throw in Meditate. Now, I know, guys, she's had 2 cracks at Tahira, and she's come out on the wrong end, but she's hard. Tactically, she's very, very uncomplicated. If she gets anything like an easy lead, and no Morge will help in that regard, Meditate won't be too far away here.
I don't think she will. And obviously, she's Breeders' Cup winner. I think the faster ground will help. That hasn't helped her in the early part of the campaign. And of course, she beat Morge in the Albany Stakes last year. So she's got some really good Royal Ascot form as well. She's in the numbers, but she's not quite on top.
Reveal those numbers, please.
Well, it's going to be 7 Tahira on top, 4 Queen For You, then Meditate. And don't rule out Cora either. Ran a really good race in the Irish 1,000 guineas. Made up a lot of ground late in a race where they were all quickening. So I think she could go quite well at the big price. But unfortunately, Graham, just the 7 runners though, so not much each-way thievery there that can be done.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to need it really, because Tahira should be a dominant winner. Number 7, she's on top for me, followed by 6 Sounds of Heaven, 4 Queen For You, and Mama's Girl, the number 2 horse, very impressive winner earlier on in the season. I think she can put in a good effort.
One of the Friday races I think we can be somewhat confident about. 7 Tahira, 3 Meditate, her old rival, 4 Queen For You, and number 6 Sounds of Heaven. Coronation Stakes, it could be all about Tahira. Best of luck in race 5 at Royal Ascot on Friday. This is an extremely difficult handicap. It's the Sandringham Handicap for fillies over the straight mile. Probably have 2 groups, may have 3. Let's have a look at the runners and riders. The Gosdens are very strong here. Number 9, Coppice, maybe their strongest contender, but way down towards the bottom. Stable companion Marksman Queen is in great form. Girl Racer number 10 was desperately unlucky at Haydock last time. A bad stumble early on, but paid to her chances. Number 21, Chelsea Green, owned by Chelsea Thoroughbreds, has been aimed at this race ever since she showed improvement to win at Newmarket first time. A select handful here, but let's have a look at a horse who's already shown ability at Ascot. Video clue for a horse called Copy Artist, who's yet to win a race. She's 0 from 4, but I think we all suspect that she probably came up against a good one. This is the Queen For You race here at Ascot, and Queen For You just had too much class, too much finishing speed. But Copy Artist ran really well, and she comes here with a fair chance. But let's throw the floor open. I'm going to start with you, Maddy. It's a massive field of progressive handicappers. Give me one name.
It's as tough as you'd expect, isn't it, Graham? And you mentioned 2 that I quite like. The first one, Girl Racer. She was so unlucky at Haydock last time. Incident at the start. She fell down on her nose, still managed to recover and finish 4th. She's unexposed. She represents a really potent combination in William Haggis and Tom Marquand. And if you look at her earlier replays, she showed a great turn of foot. She's got good cruising speed by a very fast sire. And I think we haven't seen the best of Girl Racer yet. These conditions should suit her. I think she's going to come with a nice late run. The other one you mentioned was Chelsea Green. She also showed a great turn of foot to win at Newmarket last time, and she surprised a few people. I think that's another one to keep on side.
John, I'm going to throw Coppice to you.
Yeah.
What about this for an Ascot pedigree? By Kingman, full sister to Calix, who won the Coventry Stakes. It's got Ascot, Royal Ascot, shot right through it. And in 2 of her 3 starts, she's looked a pretty good filly.
She has, although she hasn't actually run a really good figure yet, which is not necessarily a problem. But I just think that at the prices you're probably going to have to take here, I think there's going to be better value a bit further down. And I've got 1 or 2 that I quite like in this Cavalry Charge.
Come on, don't be coy.
Well, you've got a nice family connection earlier on there, and I do like Jackie O here for Aidan O'Brien. Her half-sister Onassis won this race back in 2020. That's good for fans of American history. And I think Jackie O, who ran a really good race in the Irish 1000, didn't suit her at all. She was wide, the pace was quickening as she was quickening, and in the end she was a bit tired. There was no disgrace there. This is her company. She's got quite a big weight to carry. Ryan Moore up. I think Jackie O will go very well indeed.
Any more to mention, Maddy?
Ma Belle Artiste for Joseph O'Brien did very well to win at Killarney last time from an uncompromising position. Represents the race share connections. They've been shouting some winners home this season. They could have another lively contender.
So tough this, John. Let's try and snag the cue.
Well, going to go with Jackie O on top. Maddy mentioned Chelsea Green. She'll hit the line well. Marksman Queen thought ran a really good race at Kempton recently. I think the straight mile will suit her rather than the mile around a bend. And then got Dream of Love in there for 4th. Another class act in the race, ran well in the German 1000 last time out.
Number 10, Girl Racer, is my main fancy. Ma Belle Artiste, 15 next in, followed by Jackie O, who's number 2. Chelsea Green, 21, rounds them off.
I'm going to go with Coppice here. Take John's point that she's not run a big figure yet, but the potential is there. So number 9, Coppice on top from stablemate. Agree with John about Marksman Girl. She seems really progressive. Agree with Maddy, Girl Racer. Had no chance at Haydock last time. We should see her true colours this time around. And 21, Chelsea Green. That is the Sandringham, all wrapped up. Race 6 on Friday at Royal Ascot is the King Edward VII Stakes. Bit of a pity. I think we had 19 or 20 entered at the 5-day stage. It's boiled down to a sextet here, and the main reason for that is probably the presence of the Derby runner-up, a huge hulking colt by Wootton Bassett called King of Steel, who ran a great race at Epsom. Let's run through this sextet. King of Steel's number 5. He's going to be one of the shortest price favourites of the week. Arrest, I think, was favourite for the Derby. Number 2 on the race card. Didn't shine on that unusual track. Continuous didn't shine in the French Derby. Turns out quickly. An Artistic Star ran pretty well at Epsom, and he's on the backup. But guys, it's pretty much about one horse here. And would I be wrong to suggest that if King of Steel is even close to his Epsom form, this lot are playing for places?
Well, I think he's frightened a few of them off, Graham, to be perfectly honest. And it was a tremendous run in the Derby. If you drill down into what happened there that day, he sort of tried to make ground in the early part of the race where they were travelling, then they slowed right down and he lost his position. And then he zoomed through with the fastest section of the race with about 3 furlongs to go. Him and Auguste Rodin both made quite similar runs, and they drew well clear of the rest. So on that form, he is almost up there with Auguste Rodin anyway. And I think with this lot here, especially Arrest, question marks about the ground. 1 or 2 others have got minor form chances, but he is verging on the bet of the day for me.
Maddy, it seems a question of how much potentially did that tough race take out of King of Steel. It's not a question we can be sure about, but that is the key issue for sure.
And many horses have run in the Derby and then come on to win this race. And for me, King of Steel, the most interesting thing about his Epsom performance was the reactions afterwards. Kevin Stott seemed absolutely defeated, deflated that he'd been beaten on the horse, and he was an outsider. He didn't go in the stalls in the Dante. We'll be keeping an eye on that to make sure he goes in again after Epsom. And Roger Varian too, they had such high hopes for him, given his relative inexperience. I think this is going to be a penalty kick for King of Steel. Huge day for the Varian stable, all sorts of leading chances on Friday. So if we all think that King of Steel is going to be very hard to beat, he's got £7 plus in hand on official figures. Let's try and snag the Quinello and get greedy and even the trio. Arrest, I think, was 4-1 favourite for the Derby. John, he's a beautiful looking horse, he's a powerful galloper, but the combination of Epsom's gradients and fast ground seem to undo him.
Well, John Gosnell's forgotten more about this game than I could ever hope to know. He's very quick to blame the ground. He has got a little bit of fast ground form as a 2-year-old, Arrest, and he's got some really good form in the book. I mean, it's up there with what King of Steel's achieved, but there is that question mark. If someone like John Gosnell is going to factor in the ground almost straight away, then it's a definite problem, unless we get 1 or 2 heavy showers. I worry about the ground for Arrest, and he's got that form, of course, with Dubai Mile in France as a 2-year-old. I think that horse could be quite interesting here. He could be the good pace angle of the race. Continuous as well, you've briefly mentioned him, Graham. I think he deserves credit. Also profitable in France as a juvenile. I think this track and this test will suit him more than what he faced at Chantilly last time. Artistic Star got shuffled back quite early in the Derby and did okay in the end to stay on for 7th. He's back up quickly. It is a race that revolves around King of Steel, but let's try and get the 1, 2, 3, maybe the 4, all in correct order, John. Well, I like the King in the King Edward VII Stakes. King of Steel should be winning. Arrest, certainly if the ground comes, you'd have a chance as well, but that's obviously a bit of a question mark. Artistic Star Sandown runners worked out very well. Torito then went on to win a good race at Epsom and is fancied here this week as well. And Dubai Mile for all the reasons that Maddy gave. So 5, 2, 3 and 1 for me. Both got the same horse finishing in the 4th position and in the 1st position. King of Steel, the winner, I hope, number 5. Continuous, number 4. Arrest, number 2. And Dubai Mile, number 1. Surely we can get this right. We're all agreed. Team tactics here. 5 King of Steel. 2 Arrest for me. I'm sure he's better than Epsom allowed him to show. 4 Continuous. He's on a recovery mission, but he looked pretty good at York. And 3 Artistic Star. 5, 2, 4 and 3. The King of Steel on top in the King Edward VII.
a fiercely competitive 5-furlong sprint handicap to finish off day 4 at Royal Ascot. This is the Palace of Holyrood House handicap. It is mighty, mighty difficult. So let's have a look down the card and see what we can make of this. Look halfway down, you see a horse called Gerbat. More of him in a moment. I think he has potential. Ferris, he's down at the bottom. I think Mr. John Blance has an eye on him. Harry Brown is also down at the bottom, and he is in really good form at the moment. And George Bowie has at least a couple of strong contenders here. And down at the bottom, Conquistador is in great form. So, I'll throw the floor open to Maddy Playle first of all. It's a tough one, but you're just a woman to sort it.
I hope so, Graham. It's worth saying of the 3 winners of this race we've had, none have been bigger than 10-1. So perhaps they're not going to be too hard to find. I like Harry Brown, who you mentioned, showed a really good turn of foot in his couple of wins recently. Didn't win at Goodwood last time, but I'm not sure that would have been his track. I think a big field and a strong pace. They're going to collapse onto him late, and he's going to pick up the pieces. I think he's got lots of upside for a team who knows what it takes to win here. Hayley Turner, David Simcock, they're the right people to put in your faith.
John, if you like Harry Brown, you have to like the horse who beat him at Goodwood, which was Ferris.
Yeah, well, Ferris, I think, was helped by the pace that day, but he's going to get a really strong gallop. And you know, Graham, some of my speed maps go a bit wrong, but they are going to really clatter through this race. You will want 1 or 2 on-speed horses, but you'll definitely want 1 or 2 that are coming late. Ferris will do that. I think he ran really well behind Shaquille as well in a race at Newmarket that we covered earlier on this season. Pillow Talk ran in a race called the Westow Stakes at York, which has got loads of, certainly at the 5-day stage, horses entered up for this. I thought it was a really good run, and she's got a bit of form from Royal Ascot last year as well. She'll go well as well. And Rocket Rodney, second behind Little Big Bear in the Windsor Castle Stakes. You like him as well, don't you, Maddy?
I'm nodding at you because I agree.
I'm going to touch on a horse called Gerbat here, and this is a Chester race that was an unusual race. It was soft ground in May on a very tight turning track. Couldn't be more different to Ascot. And the horse who won that race was Danger Alert, and he had everything go his way, but Gerbat didn't. I think he was drawn 11 or 12, which is very hard to overcome at Chester in sprints. He nearly did that. That tells me that he's still a progressive, quite well handicapped horse. So keep a close eye on him. Numbers, please. This is a mighty, mighty difficult race.
It is. 10 on top for me, Pillow Talk. 29, Ferris in for second. Rocket Rodney, number 3, in for third. And Tawala ran an interesting race at Kempton last time out. Missed the break, was then rushed up to try and take the lead. Won pretty much as he liked. There was a little bit of chat about this one in the press room before as well. They wanted it to get him into a Royal Ascot race. They've succeeded. He'll run well as well, number 27.
We're agreeing on the 3rd horse, but that's all. Harry Brown, number 24, the winner for me, followed by Conquistador for George Bowie. This horse has been running really well on the all-weather. I think he's going to put in a big effort. He's number 28. Rocket Rodney, the 3, in 3rd. And Frankness, number 16, back to form last time, can put in a good effort.
If the top weights dominate this race, I'm in a world of trouble, because my numbers are 13 and lower. 13 Gerbat, I think, is still a progressive horse. Ferris, number 29, and number 24, Harry Brown, tie in very neatly on Goodwood form. Last but not least, Conquistador, who seems on the up for his new stable. 13, 29, 24, 28. That wraps up the final race on Friday here at Royal Ascot.